Grand Rising, everyone. Thanks for tuning Blaque in once again to Authentic Black Goddess TV. I'm your host, QueenAShakur, and this is your morning wake-up call. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so that you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live, all right? Shout out to everyone in the chat and everyone tuned into the Queen. So let's get into it. The nefariousness of it all, people. The nefariousness of it all. Now, for some reason, to me, this story sounded vaguely familiar, but it was just reported on the 13th of January. So maybe it's another story, honey, but this sounds like I heard this before. So a man in Jamaica beheaded his wife after realizing that their 6 kids were not his. Now, according to a local newspaper in South American country, the gory incident happened in St. Andrew, where the man, who was not named, decided to get a DNA test on the children that he had with his wife. He soon found out that none of those children were his. So the woman, Karen Rainford, was said to have later confessed to her husband that she had been sleeping with other men, resulting in the children, and begged his forgiveness. But for days leading up to the murder, her husband cut his dreadlocks and told people close to him that he would kill his wife. But no one seemed to take him serious. Now, I don't know why anyone wouldn't take that serious. A man just finds out his wife's cheated at least 6 times. None of the kids that he thought were his are his. And he's talking about killing her. And then he cut off his locks. Nobody thought that was suspicious. Anyway, so they didn't take him serious. Now, a source said that what really angered the man was the fact that Rainford had gone to his workplace to embarrass him for child support, knowing that he was not even the real father of the kids. So coupled with that discovery, he was said to have beheaded her just like he had promised. Now, I don't know about y'all, but if somebody finds out that their spouse is cheating and none of the kids are theirs and they come and tell me they're going to chop their head off, why would I not believe that? First of all, who thinks about decapitating someone? And that's just crazy. So I don't know why these people didn't take him serious. Oh, let me show you the picture of him and the poor woman whose head he decapitated. Millie said, dang, he wasn't playing. No, he wasn't, honey. Let that be a lesson to those of you who go out here prowling about, lying and cheating and committing adultery and fornicating and all that. That could be you, all right? Please. Off with your head. No thanks. No thanks. There they are. He cut his locks off, honey. I guess that meant business. Yes, cut her head off. Sure did. So sad. It's so sad. I mean, I could see if 1 or 2 of the kids weren't his, but all 6. He was clearly pressed, and I don't blame him. But I wouldn't have cut nobody's head off, though. Whew. Metasimplical says it's not worth it, for real, for real. Definitely not. Definitely not. That was crazy. And so anyway, in other news, listen to this. Now, they say a drug kingpin hid $224 million of cocaine in a suburban house. Of a cocaine empire, in a suburban house. 21 gang members have received sentences totaling 167 years for their roles in importing cocaine into England and distributing it throughout the country, according to police. Now, the group was led by Palip Mangnar, who organized in the region of 100 kilograms of a high-purity cocaine from his unassuming terraced house in Willow Close, according to Darley Abbey. Now, they say Magar was sentenced to 18 years and 3 months for conspiracy to supply cocaine and conspiracy to conceal, disguise, convert, or transfer criminal property, according to the police. The 45-year-old used an encrypted EncroChat phone to order multiple kilos of the drug from contacts in Dubai. Now, which was then distributed across the country by Jaswat Kaljla, according to the investigation by the East Midlands Special Operations Unit. Now, they say from this, or from his home in Bluebird Drive country, Kajula organized the logistics of moving the drugs along with collecting of the money for the gang from the gang's customers. He ensured that those delivering the cocaine had well-rehearsed cover stories as couriers who could deny their knowledge of the drugs they were delivering. Now, they say the money was collected and it was dealt by Monarch Gohal, the gang's accountant. So you mean to tell me drug kingpins actually have accountants? Anyway, so they say it was kept by or dealt with by the gang's accountant, according to the police, who kept detailed Excel spreadsheets and showed the incomings, outgoings, and expenses of the gang. Let me tell y'all something. When people out here doing all of this nefarious stuff, you know, out here being drug kingpins and all that, and hiring accountants and treasurers and all of that stuff and having spreadsheets, they could easily have just started a legit corporation. But sadly, some people prefer to do dirt and use their talents for bad instead of good. Now, Jahal used another encrypted phone to contact the upstream suppliers of the drugs to update them about how much money was being made, according to police. The gang had 2 offices, according to police, in Luton and Derby, where millions of dollars flowed through from their cocaine sales. Now, police said the gang made an estimated $25 million between March the 16th and April the 30th of 2020. Now, based on that amount, officers estimated the gang's total earnings over a 400-day period or 400-day conspiracy to be $224 million. The Derby office, run by what police described as the last top-level member of the gang by the name of Minvar Singh, also known as Manveer Kak. It's spelled K-A-K-H, just so you know. Was responsible for counting, bundling, vacuum packing, and then assigning an individual token number to each bundle of cash. This sounds like a big enterprise. Like, this really sounds like a business that they could have done legitimately as opposed to selling drugs. Anyway, police said the 4 leading members of the gang, Magnar, Singh, Johal, and Nimrat Bahia, traveled to Dubai to meet their contacts, bragging that the person they were visiting was on a meal a week and wearing a $150,000 watch while spending $50,000 in a club on Thursday night. The investigation to the gang's operation was well underway when detectives were supplied with further evidence of the criminality after the secure EncroChat phone, the system the gang was using, was taken down. And this is according to Derbyshire Constabulary. Now, the system, they say, was used by criminals across the world. It was infiltrated by law enforcement in Europe, who then passed the information to the UK authorities. The information gleaned from the messages allowed officers to target the gang and intercept multiple kilos of the cocaine. Further evidence discovered by officers showed that 4 of the men who were also involved in the supply of heroin between January and February 2020, they also were making millions. Also nefarious. Who comes up with this stuff? Malik says there was more than 224 million for real. Probably so. Dark Skin Brother says they will take the drugs and put that back on the street. October says drug dealer or businessman. Apparently so, honey. The way they were running this thing like a whole enterprise, right? Apparently so. Well, so anyway, in other news, these nefarious people in LA are still looting freight trains filled with UPS, FedEx, and Amazon packages. Now, I reported on this before, but apparently they're still doing it because this report just came out January the 15th. And so they say photos and videos showing piles of empty boxes littered all across the rail tracks in Los Angeles County, California, have gone viral as shipping companies say they've seen a dramatic spike in railroad theft. Some of the boxes are packages from companies like UPS, Amazon, and FedEx. Union Pacific, one of the company's largest railroad companies, says that it may avoid operating in Los Angeles County following the spike in the thefts, which it blames on lax prosecution for the crimes. Now, the containers and trains are locked, but they can be broken into. Union Pacific said last month in a letter to the Los Angeles District Attorney that it saw a 160% year-over-year increase in theft in LA County. The company claims that in December of 2020, special directive issued by District Attorney George Gascon had changed how low-level offenses are prosecuted, and that has contributed to the uptick in crimes. Union Pacific said in its letter that the last 3 months of the year, it made over 100 arrests for active criminals vandalizing the trains in partnership with the LA Police Department and Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. But Union Pacific, which has its own police department within the jurisdiction, over 32,000 miles of tracks that it owns, said that even as it expanded its security and resources and partnered more closely with local law enforcement, the problem still isn't going away. After being arrested, individuals are released from custody within 24 hours. So that's all the incentive for them to steal. Like, why would they stop? You're getting arrested and you're out of jail within 24 hours and you're barely being prosecuted. Now, crime is associated with increases in poverty, which has increased during the pandemic. The county's directive was intended to combat social ills that come from misdemeanor convictions, such as difficulties with employment, housing, education, government benefits, and immigration. Studies show that prosecution of the offenses driving to the bulk of the misdemeanor cases have been minimal or even negative. Long-term impacts on public safety, Gascon says, when the directive was issued. He says, our office is committed to working with law enforcement to ensure collective safety across Los Angeles County, sprawling infrastructure, whether it is at our ports or our railroad tracks. This is what Alex Bastian, special advisor to District Attorney Gascon, said when reached for comment, saying that some cases presented to our office by Union Pacific have been filed, such as burglary and grand theft, while others have been declined due to insufficient evidence. We make charging decisions based on the evidence. Our office takes Union Pacific's concerns seriously and hopes to discuss this issue more in the coming weeks. While we understand the well-intended social justice goals of the policy, we need our justice system to support our partnership efforts with local law enforcement and to hold these criminals accountable, and most important, help protect our employees in the critical local and national railroad network. This all sounds so crazy. You know what? I find it very interesting that they're not prosecuting these people who are breaking in these railways and all of that, and stealing UPS, FedEx, and Amazon boxes and all that stuff. But they have no problem pulling Black people over on the side of the road at traffic stops and killing you for resisting arrest. Can y'all make sense of it? Because clearly I cannot. Clearly I cannot. Therese says LAPD is all gang run. Yes, absolutely. How many gangs do they have again? We cannot keep track, right? Too many to count. Anyway, so that's crazy. With that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast, and I'll be going live on the original Queen AmadeAShakur show in the next 5 minutes. So please make sure you stay tuned so we can talk about this nefarious news anchor trying to defend her daughter with all the mail-splaining about her racist and homophobic rants. And also let's talk about Prince and Tupac's sister suing, right after they have embezzled millions, supposedly. And so with that all being said, everyone, please like and share the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Queen AmadeAShakur. And make sure you follow the Queen AmadeAShakur fan page. You can find me on Twitter at DGoddess27. Peace.